We got Gators Breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
Oh, and that never dull moment takes us to a commit right before the season starts. Welcome to Gators Breakdown. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC with a commitment episode. Wide receiver Naeshaun Montgomery committing to the Florida Gators, adding to this pretty good wide receiver haul for the class of 2025. So plenty to get into here with his commit. We'll go back and listen to his interview that I had with him last week as well. Let us know why he chose Florida. So a lot of good stuff there from Montgomery. If you missed it the first time, gives us a little bit of insight on why he chose the orange and blue. So plenty to get into, of course. Kind of scheduling announcement, of course. We are hitting game week, beat Miami, of course. But how we've done it for as long as I can remember with game week, with the season kicking off, on Monday, we're recording this on Sunday, of course, this Naeshaun Montgomery commitment episode, but on Monday, I've been asked a lot, hey, Dave, when's the over-under episodes? When's the season preview stuff with Will Miles? Well, you don't have to wait much longer. On Monday evening, Will Miles and I will be live right here on YouTube to give our popular over-under predictions. I've gotten DMs, I've gotten text messages. Thank you all so much for having the interest in that episode. It is one of the most fun episodes we put together every year, where we can go back at the end of the season and see how right and see how mostly wrong we were for those over-unders and season predictions, superlatives, all that good stuff there. So, of course, a lot of fun to be had on this week of Gators Breakdown. We'll follow that up, of course, with Miami previews throughout the week. So it's season time. It's game week. I think we're all still a little looking back at the moment of Georgia Tech upsetting FSU and just, in a way, for me, makes that Florida-Miami game even bigger in so many ways. We'll get to that conversation all week long. But this is a recruiting episode, commitment episode. We will celebrate the commitment of wide receiver Naeshaun Montgomery. So everybody hit that like button, like this topic, what we do here on Gators Breakdown, all the work that's coming up. That really helps us a whole lot. Subscribe right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. And, of course, plenty happening, especially with this week. Florida victorious. A couple big announcements you heard a couple weeks ago here on Gators Breakdown of them. Of course, going to be launching all kinds of new things this fall. You got the 50-50 raffle that will certainly, I think, be pretty popular. 50-50 raffle has been pretty popular the last few years in the swamp, but now you go to Florida victorious and you can get in on it even more. So 50% of the money generated will go to you. The other 50% now will go to Florida victorious. So it's certainly a way to raise the NIL there at Florida and certainly benefit what Florida is doing there. So you can also become a member of Gators of Florida victorious. You can the link is in the description there to join and can continue helping recruiting, all that good stuff. Of course, with everything going on in the NIL space, recruiting is going to be big for Florida. Let's go ahead and set it up, make it big. But as I said, and now Friday night, I will be in Gainesville Friday night. Florida Victorious is going to have an event there at Celebration Point. And I will be there with a few friends of mine. And let's go have a good time. You have to be a Florida Victorious member to join. But it's free to attend. If you're a Florida Victorious member, you can get 20% off your first month by going to Florida Victorious. Link is in the description. Use promo code GatorsBD. That'll help you out for that first month. And come join us. Come join us Friday night. It'd be glad to see you guys. Come say hello if you see me. But also, of course, Saturday all around. But we'll be out and about Friday night. But it'll start right there at the Florida Victorious event there at Celebration Point. Should be a whole lot of fun. Getting this Beat Miami week kicked off. So, all right, there's plenty to get into. But this one is recruiting, and let's get it started. Gator Nation. Hey, we got to commit this one. Wide receiver, Naeshaun Montgomery. 4-star on both the recruiting services. 6'2", 185 pounds. 24/7 Sports Composite does have him as the 179th overall player and the 18th ranked wide receiver. The On3 industry rankings, 249 overall, 33rd wide receiver. So the 24/7 Sports Composite, the On3 industry rankings, take into account 24/7, On3, Rivals, ESPN, mixes them all together, and that's how you get the rankings. 24/7, On3 both have their own formulas. On3, I believe, weights theirs even heavier. And that's the disparity here in both of what you see and just what you heard. Because the On3 sole rankings, their own rankings, do not have an overall national ranking for Montgomery and rank him the 67th wide receiver in the country as a 3-star. So On3's own rankings does not have Montgomery as high as the other ones out there. So the highest being, and we go to back to the composite, 24/7 Sports Composite, Naeshaun Montgomery, 179th overall and the 18th wide receiver. Montgomery chose Florida over his other finalists, Alabama, Florida State, LSU, Oregon, and Penn State. And most of the way, this had been thought to be a Florida-Penn State battle, and then the closer to the decision we got, LSU was throwing their name into the mix, maybe even more of a Florida-LSU battle, but he's visited Florida more than any other school. Florida's been the school to beat for quite some time. So the last couple of weeks, there was some thought that Penn State was more willing to take him, while the LSU staff waiting for some other wide receivers to make decisions. So don't know if that played out in the end, but Penn State's kind of always been there along with Florida, LSU more so lately. But in the end, Florida gets the pickup of Naeshaun Montgomery. So let's move to Naeshaun as a player. And let's going to add some highlights here as we get to read about him a bit. And last year, his junior season, caught 30 passes for 451 yards with 5 receiving touchdowns while also returning punts. He transferred from Cardinal Newman in January to Miami Central. So a verified 4.4 speed to take the top end off of defenses, soft hands, length. He's got a lot of ability to separate. Montgomery showed the ability to make plays in a variety of ways, can get behind defenders, can catch a slant and take that in for a score, that uses his length to go up high point the ball, and then shows some physicality and tight coverage as well, as you'll see here if you're watching the YouTube and the highlights. I love the physicality it shows in tight coverage and beat the defender for the ball. That's what you can see here. Something he'll need to take steps in as well. But you'll see that highlight, but we'll get into some more thoughts from his coach where he could work on that as well. But shows versatility as a Wildcat quarterback that can take that type of carry for the distance as well as a punt returner. So very versatile player, very versatile wide receiver. So you look here, he just looks like a natural pass catcher, solid routes, soft hands, certainly like adding him to the wide receiver room. Just shows physicality, too, on some blocks here if you're watching the highlights. He does not mind getting down and dirty as a blocker. So I think he shows the mental side of wanting to be a physical player in what we see here in these highlights. Now, look, they're called highlights for a reason. They're going to show the good. But we'll get into some other thoughts of what he does well, what he can improve on from his Miami Central coach, Jude Joseph. He told Gators Online, quote, he high points the ball. His ball skills are elite. Separation at the top of the route, that is elite as well. And there were a lot of questions about his foot speed. And then he went to the LSU camp and he ran a 4.4. His foot speed is second to none. He can go vertical. He can go deep. So, because of those skills, Joseph is excited to see what Montgomery can do on Friday nights. He went on to say, the only thing he needs to work on for us is because he came to us a little late from track, is getting a better grasp of the playbook for each position. And I would just say separating more on press coverage. He's very selfless. He's a playmaker. Sometimes I have to step up to him and tell him to demand the ball. And also wide receivers, are going to run the ball. You have to be selfless as a receiver as well as your blocking and things of that nature. We're going to teach him to be a team player, be committed to the brotherhood, be a leader, things of that nature, because it's a team sport. So there you go. There's his head coach at Miami Central, speaking on the type of player that he is and that he can be. So let's go back last week when Naeshaun was on Gators Breakdown and get his thoughts on why Florida was the choice here. Remember, this was previously recorded, but the information still very relevant for his choice of donning the orange and blue. What stands out about Florida in that regard? I know Billy Gonzalez there, wide receiver coach, of course, Billy Napier with a history at wide receivers in his coaching career as well. Is those two kind of working together, and more just Gonzalez? So what do you like about Florida in that wide receiver position?
They really work together. Like Coach Napier is really like into it with the receivers because he was a receiver guy, and Coach Billy Gonzalez does a great job with receivers, like what he did with Ricky Pearsall, and that's really what caught my eye.
We saw what Florida did with with Trey Wilson last year as a true freshman. Does that kind of stand out in your mind of being able to play those young wide receivers?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like my goal is to play as a freshman, so just seeing them play freshmen, that's what really caught my eye also.
Has Florida shared with you how they would use you? Would they kind of use you like a Trey Wilson all over the field, or would just more of a downfield threat, more of a catch and run threat? Have they shared how they'll use you?
Yeah, when me and Coach Napier and Coach Billy Gonzalez talked, he said he'd use me as like a Trey Wilson. Like I'll be in the backfield, slot, outside, just different ways to get me the ball.
I've asked some other, I've asked players this. I've asked Trey Wilson this. I asked Vernell Brown, the third right before he committed too. I'm going to ask you this question. Would you rather take a 70-yard screen pass for a touchdown, or would you rather catch a 70-yard bomb down the field?
I'll go to 70-yard bomb.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Vernell chose the screen, so I'm glad we get some different answers there. So I guess you just use that speed to get past that DB in the end zone. Will you still take visits to other schools during the fall, or is this kind of going to be looked at as more of a final decision?
After my commitment, I think I'm going to take like 1 or 2 more visits, but I think I'm still going to be locked in. Yes, sir. Okay.
So playing with DJ Lagway, of course, as certainly has to enter the mind for you. If you do choose Florida, he would be the quarterback for the next few seasons there. Have you talked to him? Has there been a prior relationship with DJ Lagway? And of course, high profile quarterback. I'm sure you've looked at maybe the potential of playing with him.
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations. The first time I met him is when he first got there, and he was saying how like he watched my film, he likes the way I play, and I should be a Gator and I should be his ex receiver.
Does that help Florida in that regard, knowing that he could be there, he could be your quarterback for the next few seasons?
Yeah, that helps because like I got to get a relationship with the guy that's going to throw me the ball, and he's done a really good job with like communication and like even on my OV, he was with me the whole time, just talking to me, showing me around, and that's really like what put them so high.
So looking at that, of course, if you look at Florida this fall, Lagway might get some time. I'm sure he'll be on the field a bit, but of course, different quarterback with Graham Mertz. What are you looking for? If of course, the decision's next week, but as you said, you'll still take other visits. The door might be open. So whether you choose Florida, whether you don't choose Florida, what are you looking for from Florida this fall?
Really like how they do with their, like when DJ Lagway gets in to see what he does. And cause I know he's a great quarterback, so I know he's going to do really good, but I just want to see like how he does in the offense with the weapons that he has.
Do you look at how the receivers are played? Does it weigh that the offense could be a little bit different with DJ Lagway, but you're still looking at what the receivers do?
Yeah, I'm still taking a look at what the receivers do, like how they run their routes. Cause if I pick Florida, I'm going to be around those guys. So I want to like pick up a certain things to add it to my game. So that's why I'm kind of like watching all the schools' receivers to see what I can add.
Awesome. So, of course, you're a class of 2025 wide receiver. Florida has Vernell Brown III in the mix. Joshua Moore already committed to Florida, both from South Florida like yourself. So are those guys trying to sway you a little bit to say, let's get this South Florida connection in Gainesville?
Yeah, I was with Josh Moore on my OV, and I played with Vernell like a little bit of 7-on, and after he committed, he texted me saying, "What are you waiting for?" So they've been really pushing for it.
All right, and look, man, that's got to be something, to have a group of players from that area and trying to get you to go to Gainesville.
Mm-hmm.
Does that factor in that there are those guys from your area and to want to maybe continue that?
Yeah, definitely. Like just seeing like the guys that's around my area, like Vernell's up top, Josh is like down the road basically, and just seeing like them guys really push for me. That's like really like what's like pushing them higher and higher.
Okay, keeping it going here. What do you do well? What kind of wide receiver are you? What kind of wide receiver would Florida be getting if you were to choose the Gators?
Shoot, I can go deep. I can take a slant to the crib. I can block for the running backs. It's like I can really do it all. Like you can put me in the backfield. I can get open. It's just like I'm also like a team player. Like if I'm not getting the ball, I'm gonna block and just stuff like that.
Where do you want to get better?
I really want to get in a weight room, like stronger, because if I do pick to go to an SEC school, they're going to be a lot bigger and stronger. So that's why I'm trying to really like get faster and stronger.
You mentioned going to campus multiple times, and of course that happened over the summer as well. Was that because Florida close drive, you can get there pretty easy, or was there something that you were looking for in each and every visit or each different visit?
Shoot, I've been to Florida a couple times and really like it's like the different feeling like when I get there. It's like they treat me like family. Once I step on campus, like when they open the doors, everybody's saying hi to my family and just really stuff like that. And that happened from the moment I got the offer till now. The communication has never changed.
I can't remember off the top of my head or not. Have you been to Gainesville for a game yet? Got on game day?
Yes, sir.
Which game?
I went to Tennessee.
Last year?
Yes, sir.
So you've seen as bad as crazy as the swamp can get there. Does that factor in your mind as well? It was a really good game for Florida, jumped out to a big lead over Tennessee. You got to see, some of the best of Florida in the last couple of seasons. Does that stand out? How that crowd just, just kind of takes over the swamp.
That crowd is amazing. Like it's loud. Like even my little brother still talks about how loud the stadium is.
One more time, a big thank you for Naeshaun for joining us right here on Gators Breakdown and giving us that insight. With Montgomery, he's the 14th commit for the class of 2025, and his commitment rises Florida to the 24th ranked class on the 24/7 Sports Composite as we head into the season starting this week. He is the 6th highest commit in the class and the 3rd wide receiver, and now is one a group that highlights this class overall right now. Other wide receivers, Vernell Brown III is the top ranked player in the class, of course, and coming in as a 5-star, the 27th overall player in the country on the 24/7 Sports Composite. Joshua Moore, the other receiver, comes in as a 4-star, 173rd overall, and this gives a pretty well-rounded group of receivers for Florida. 2 speedy playmakers in Brown and Montgomery, and 1 physical threat and Moore. Really like what this staff has done so far with this position group. Trey Wilson, of course, the crown jewel so far, and we're hoping to see an evolution of him in his second season. We'll hope to see more of Andy Jean and Aiden Mizell this fall, of course. Early returns are good on Tech Hawkins and TJ Abrams, and we'll see how much of those guys we see this fall. So we don't have to be a contributor as a freshman to ultimately make it, but it's really hard not to like the potential of the wide receiver recruiting so far from Billy Napier, Billy Gonzalez, Decker, and the staff there. Good job. And certainly right now, the highlight of this 2025 class. And right now, this is certainly a great way to start off game week and also a big recruiting week with the season kicking off. We all know Florida hosts Miami and all the recruiting battles that have went on and are going to continue to go on. And Florida hosting Miami, that means a ton of big names in the swamp this weekend. And a great chance for Florida to change perception and narrative about not only this 2024 season, this 2024 team, but possibly the direction of this program. Now, it's only one game, but it can resonate with recruits in a major way. If this Florida class is going to finish anywhere close to how we want it to, a win over Miami should, would, will, can go a long way. However you want to describe it. It can solidify the commits you already have, but certainly with the big targets that will be on campus for this game. And let's just go through the names that could be in Gainesville this weekend. Wide receiver Dallas Wilson. I mean, we just talked about wide receivers, right? I wouldn't expect him ever to, not ever. Just would not expect him to end up in this Florida class. Committed to Oregon, of course. He mentioned he could potentially be on campus this weekend. Another Oregon commit, offensive lineman Zaire Addison. He's expected to be on campus. Now, these guys, of course, so many of them, these targets already committed. Javion Hilson, FSU commit, the edge player, expected to be on campus. One of the bigger names that has said many times that he wants to see Florida this fall and what they look like that could go a long way and maybe ultimately him flipping would be Auburn commit, 5-star defensive lineman Malik Autry. Has been on record many times to say, I want to see what Florida looks like this fall. So maybe there's a chance of flipping him with starting this season off with a win versus Miami. 3-star defensive lineman Jarquez Carter, right down the road. Very close to Gainesville. Can he get caught up in the moment, being in the swamp, if Florida was to put it to Miami? Ty Jackson, who has said it's going to take a while for him to make his final decision. He's supposed to be on campus. He's an uncommitted prospect, probably the top uncommitted prospect there. Going to be looking why he's still filtering through his decision, leading up to probably an early signing day decision. Him being on campus for this huge game can go a long way. Bryce Fitzgerald, who is committed to Miami, will be in the swamp to see the team he's committed to. Florida's hosting him. See how that one goes. DJ Pickett, LSU commit. All these big names, most of them committed, but you got to put a lot of work into flipping. You're not going to flip them with losing games. We know that. That's kind of been the storyline all throughout summer. Certainly headed into this first game, and now you got them on campus for this big one. A win over Miami is the start of making flips possible, making big names possible to finish this class. So, there's this big thought from recruits that wanting to see improvement from Florida this fall, winning over Miami can certainly jumpstart that. It can be the first step in changing perception, so it will help get this class where we want it to be, but also continue that, I think, great start for the 2026 class. You got some momentum for that class. An early start, a couple big names in that class already with Griffin and Waters. A win over the rival, a win over a team that's right now perceived to be college football playoff contender. Can change that narrative perception pretty fast with FSU already losing to Georgia Tech. And then you get a win over Miami. Go ahead and get in recruits' minds that, hey, maybe Florida is the team trending in the right direction. So this game against Miami, big on many fronts, but also could continue some momentum that Florida has in recruiting right now. All right, there we go. Of course, looking back, the commitment of Naeshaun Montgomery, kind of a look ahead while we stay on the recruiting trail of how big this Miami game will be. So, all right, that would do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. Reminder, Friday night, come to the Florida Victorious event. I will be there. Come say hello. Should be a great time. Sign up. Link is in the description. But it's game week. It is game week. We will turn the page. Hopefully there's a lot of recruiting news to go. Good recruiting news to update throughout the season. But we are turning the page. What we look forward to all these weeks in this year, August, but September, October, November, December, that we all look forward to starts this week. Can't wait to bring it to you right here on Gators Breakdown. That'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.